Title: Game of Thrones. The Fire That Never Died. In another world, far from the one written by fate, the dead marched upon the living once more. Winter had come to every corner of Westeros, and the fires of dragons barely kept its breath from freezing the last warmth of the realm. But in this version of the story, Jon Snow never reached the heart of the storm. He never faced the Night King before the godswood of Winterfell. Someone else did. From the distant lands across the narrow sea, where blood and fire once ruled the sky, a warrior returned from the ashes of time, Khal Drogo, the Great Stallion who had once been promised to ride the world. The stories said he had died, burned by his own wife's love, consumed by the dark magic of a desperate heart. But death, in this world, was not always the end. The fire that had once taken him also preserved a part of his soul, a whisper carried by Daenerys's dragons. When Drogon roared on the night the long night truly began, fire cracked the frozen lands beyond the wall, and from its molten scar emerged the shape of a man, tall, scarred, bare-chested, his eyes burning like coals. Drogo had returned, forged anew from flame. He rode alone at first, a shadow among snowdrifts. The sky above him bled red from dragon fire and glowed blue with the lights of the dead. He had known battle all his life, but nothing like this. The silence of the frozen air, the endless legions that did not breathe, did not tire, did not fear. Yet even they paused when they saw him. The wights, lifeless as stone, trembled for the first time. And when their master appeared, the Night King himself, cold and still upon his undead steed, Drogo felt something ancient stir inside him. Not hatred, not rage, but recognition. A warrior seeing another who had conquered even death. Winterfell burned that night, not with the warmth of victory, but with the chill of despair. Daenerys stood upon the ramparts, her golden hair tangled by icy wind. She had lost half her army. The Dothraki, her fierce riders, had been swallowed by darkness. Her dragons fought the storm itself. And Jon Snow, her only equal, was lost somewhere among the dead. Then she saw it, a fire upon the snow, not dragon fire but something purer, wilder. From the northern hills came a figure upon horseback, his hair long and dark, his chest gleaming with frost and sweat. He carried a curved arak that burned without end. "Kalaka," she whispered. Her breath froze in the air. She had dreamed of him for years, the husband taken from her by magic, by love, by her own desperate hand. The Dothraki believed that when a Khal dies, his spirit joins the stars. But Drogo had fallen from the stars that night to stand once more before his Khaleesi. He rode through the gates of Winterfell as if time itself bowed before him. Men stared, speechless. Even the unsullied lowered their spears. He dismounted, fire dripping from his blade, and Daenerys descended the steps as if afraid to breathe. They did not speak. They did not need to. When their hands met, fire melted the snow between them. But there was no time for reunion. The horns of the dead sounded from the fields, a sound like the cracking of the world. The Night King had come, his army spread across the horizon like a living glacier. Drogo turned to face him. He did not fear. The Dothraki had a saying, "A man's spirit cannot freeze if his heart burns hotter than the sun." Beside him stood Daenerys, her eyes fierce, her dragon circling above. "You can't fight him alone," she said. Drogo's voice, deep and raw, carried across the courtyard. "The dead do not understand fear. I will teach them." He rode out into the storm, alone. The field was silent, but for the wind. Then, movement. From the shadows, wights poured forth. thousands of them, shrieking and clawing, their eyes blue as the heart of winter. Drogo's arak blazed, each swing cut through flesh and ice alike, each movement faster, deadlier. He was not just a man. He was the memory of every battle he had ever fought, the living flame of war itself. When he roared, even dragons turned their gaze. Daenerys watched from above on Drogon's back, her tears freezing as they fell. Her Khal was surrounded, yet unstoppable. He moved like a storm within a storm, carving through eternity itself. Then, through the chaos, the Night King descended from his steed, his spear of ice gleaming. For a moment, the battlefield stilled. Fire and ice stood face to face, the living flame and the eternal frost. "You cannot kill death," the Night King's silence seemed to say. Drogo's eyes burned brighter. "Then I will teach death to burn." They clashed. The Night King's power was beyond mortal measure. Each strike of his spear froze the ground to glass. Each swing of Drogo's blade set the air aflame. Around them, the world cracked, fire and ice colliding, devouring everything between. The Night King moved like shadow, his strikes perfect, his will unbending. But Drogo fought with the strength of every life he had ever touched. His people, his horse, his Khaleesi. Every heartbeat of Daenerys pulsed through him. He struck once, and flame shattered ice. He struck again, and the Night King stumbled, cracks spreading across his armor. But death does not die easily. The King of the Dead thrust his spear through Drogo's side. Frost bloomed across the Dothraki's chest. His blood steamed. Daenerys screamed from above, commanding Drogon to dive. Fire poured from the sky, drowning both warriors in a storm of flame and frost. When the light cleared, Drogo stood alone, barely breathing, his body burning and freezing all at once. The Night King knelt before him, his form melting into shards of blue crystal. Drogo raised his arak high and plunged it into the icebound chest. The world shattered. The dawn that followed was unlike any other. The dead lay still. The snow turned to mist. Drogon landed beside Daenerys as she ran to her husband. He was fading, the fire within him dying out, his body dissolving like smoke. "You came back," she whispered. He smiled, a shadow of the man she had once known, but filled with peace. "Fire does not die, Khaleesi. It becomes the air we breathe." She held him as he faded, the first rays of sunrise spilling over the ruins of Winterfell. That day, the world remembered two forces, one born of fire, one born of ice. Both had met in the middle and ended the long night. And in the wind that followed, some swore they could still hear the beat of hooves across the frozen plains. The Khal, who rode for love, not conquest, leading the dawn itself into a new age. The end